Welcome to a brand new week on Jasiri, your safe space for fearless conversations, bold stories, and everything in between. We hope your weekend gave you a moment to breathe, laugh, reflect, and maybe even dance a little, hopefully. Now, this madam across from me thinks that she has escaped, but she has not.
Yeah.
Happy birthday.
Why?
Happy birthday, Kathy! Happy birthday, mixed Cameroonian, Akwa Ibom, Pepe, because you'll start speaking multiple languages now.
No,
my love.
I'm not speaking multiple languages. I think you guys know me, so yellow girl. No, yeah, I'm going to bite you.
Now you know why she was asking to take pictures.
Wow. I use all my mouth to call that thing pokwa. Oh, thank you guys. It's a bar. Wow. That is always so kind of quiet about her birthday. All through your life. Usually, even no matter how I plan to. Okay, this year I'm going. Just when it's approaching, I think I have cold feet. I really don't like the spotlight on me like that. But if it's somebody else's birthday, you like but it was a nice birthday for me. The kids spoiled her.
As he did now.
Oh my God! No, you don't understand. An Uber was sent to me. I said, I'm not going anywhere. I was arguing with the Uber driver. No, ma'am. You are supposed to go. I picked you up. The person who picked you up said, I can't go. This Lagos that they are kidnapping every left, right, and center. I can't.
Because nobody told you.
Listen, I'm not going.
Because the kids are not around, so they have to do it.
So I'm not. So they had to call, the ringleader to say. I said, oh no, that he's expecting, that I should just go there and collect it. I'm like, you didn't say. That's how I carry myself because there's trust now. Only for me to, welcome ma'am, happy birthday. I said, okay. So I was there for 6 hours.
Woo! Being pampered. I love it.
I didn't expect it from them. I was so...
Our kids are the best. We all deserve soft life. Yeah, we all deserve soft life.
And it wasn't just Catherine enjoying. Coco too was having fun on Saturday.
Yesterday. Saturday. So we finally did the 10-year-old birthday party. Yeah. My goodness, my child had the time of her life. Her friends.
Are you serious?
Yeah, I saw
she was saying she didn't want to do anything.
Yeah. I told you. 10 is an age.
Yeah. Double digits.
Do you know? Her first double digits.
Guy.
Yes, so double digits. She was so happy.
Are you serious?
She was living vicariously. I was living vicariously towards her stories I was following. Because I was but I just wanted to keep up with. I almost forgot Catherine's birthday until late at night. I was like, oh my God.
And you know when Lolo said it, I just knew it's how she said it, that she typed it. She said, oh, did I miss? I just knew it was how she sounded.
Maybe I missed it on the show and I remember this.
Today?
Yeah.
It's because also it's my fault.
She doesn't
yes, and then she doesn't loud anything.
Lolo was making sure do a photo shoot,
Yes,
I could hear Lolo's voice that birthday week. Do a photo shoot,
Okay, so you said you were reflecting. One reflection before we move on.
No, reflecting on what I know. I take a lot of things for granted. I'm hard on myself, and I have to learn to accept my flowers. There's always room to do more, to be more, and so as you have a birthday, as a day like that comes for taking stock, so to say. It's a new year. I was talking to my cousin, it's my birthday mate, Smack, and he was telling me that you take stock and you ask yourself where you look at yourself, where you're coming from and where you're headed. And sometimes it seems like we never really get a clear plan of where you're going. Lives, or at the same time, how do you stick to the path that you've charted out for yourself? So when you look at where you're coming from and you're plotting that graph, it's easy to keep saying, I need to do this more, I need to do that, I need to
take pictures more.
No, do take the pictures more, because I remember a post around the time I just had Corday, and it said that yes, your life will change, but if you're not careful, you won't be in the pictures. You're so busy taking pictures for everybody else. Being the one that organizes the pictures. You have those memories, but where are you in the pictures?
So I hate all these things you say.
Remember when you were asking me to look ask me for something, a picture of something one time, and I told her I didn't have. Remember?
Yeah.
And I said I didn't. I said,
no, we really need to keep our memories.
The pictures.
So if you read the pictures, I understand that. But now, I mean, I plan to do more. Let myself go more. Like take risks more. And I'm serious about that. Take risks and just live unapologetically. And my people know when I say unapologetically, I mean that.
We love you, Kathy. We love you. We love you. Anyway, since everybody is on the soft speed, should we get into the next softness?
Let's get it.
Let's start with the moment that had the internet in its feelings. I'm talking about Davido crying at his manager Asa's wedding. You know, it was just, while some people were awing on it, a lot of people were like, what is this one? Some people didn't find it cute. No, everybody said, oh, it's not masculine at all for a man to cry. But anyway, maybe I didn't cry the way Davido cried. But I know you're all focused on my glasses. Thank you so much, Akulia. This is my birthday gift. Thank you. I love it. Back to it. Let's go to the video. Let's see how Davido's mouth looks like when he's crying.
Was that the glasses part of the script?
No, please play video.
And I end up.
Lover.
Oh my God. Let's take reactions before Lolo gets to her feelings for all of us, please. So what are the people saying?
Yeah.
I don't know why a full-grown man will be shedding tears in a wedding ceremony, not even his own. He's okay, wait now. Davido crying at his friend Asa Asika's wedding is a definition of true friendship, and we need more friends like that, yes. We have feminized men in this generation. Yes, there's nothing wrong with a man expressing his emotions, but not in this scenario. In what scenario? Why is a full-grown man crying at the wedding of another man who is not crying? What is happening to men in this generation? But Asa was actually crying. Leave it or take it. Davido is who he is. I can understand that innermost feelings when you remember how your G stood by you for ages till success blinks. Words alone cannot explain it. Yes, men do cry.
On 100.
Okay, that's the same one. Do we have any other ones? The society needs to understand that it's okay for a man to cry. It doesn't mean you're weak. It only shows that you're human too. I didn't join people to drag Enioluwa when Priscilla was getting married. I won't do it with Davido as well. And really, that's actually quite true. In the past, let's say 2 or 3 months, we've seen at least celebrity men showing their emotions. And the fact that, see, if you have not been blessed to have friendships that move you to tears when you see their success or their happiness, you're missing out. Especially that first guy. Somebody, even the groom was crying. We don't, like, this is a friendship, I think, about 16 years or not. If you get remarried, won't I cry? If you get, won't I cry? I'll cry at our wedding. I'll cry.
Everybody's I understand. As we're talking, there's some people who would say, oh, yeah, but you are female, you're a woman, that's why you cry. I love the tweet of the lady's tweet there when she said, it is okay for men to cry. It just shows that they're human too. All these strong things that they're putting on men, all this strongness, you have to be strong, men don't cry, or hide yourself, chest down.
So, and they chest down and then they have anxiety. They have anger, they have mental health issues. Men are more likely to die by suicide, even though women try suicide more. So unfortunately, men are more successful because they're holding all these emotions in. And what annoys me about it is it's the same men. So you know when we had Solomon here, when we were talking about the boy child, one of the questions that men always tend to sort of drop into these, maybe some feminist conversation, and not all, is, oh, but who's speaking for the boy child? Hello, we have not solved our own issues as women and girls, and you want us to carry your own burden again. And then these opportunities come for you to show empathy, for you to show that emotions are human. Emotions do not select gender. They're human. And what do you choose to do? You choose to double down. And that is where this generation of men is not feminized. They've been more allowed to express themselves than previous generations. Stop it.
That's why I said, can we let the man cry? Please. Crying doesn't make him less of a man.
No.
And it was just Friday that we're celebrating
International Day of the Boy Child.
Everybody was posting their songs with cute captions and all. Well, this moment matters too. It's a very emotional moment for him. It reminds us that it's okay for men to express their emotions without shame. Because this thing that we're making men feel shame for crying, it's wrong. We're the ones that are trying to re-educate men, trying to recalibrate them. And when they are now living it, we're the ones that say no. All I see is a man that is so loved for who he is, that he has a lot of love to give. So why can we not allow him to give it in peace?
Exactly.
See, mental health sometimes it comes into play because you need to ask people some salient questions. How were you raised? Because how people were raised actually determines how they feel things. Some people are so stoic that nothing passes through them. And they bottle everything in and they are totally wrecked inside.
And then they go and marry and have children and wreck their children with the trauma that they're carrying.
What does it mean what does it mean? You know, we need to constantly keep asking this question. What does it mean to be a man to you? What were you told or shown as a child? Look at our men. We're talking about our forefathers. We're talking about our daddies. How many of them did teach their children anything?
See, too many boys grew up hearing, boys don't cry.
Boys don't cry. They let us go. Why?
Stop crying. Be strong. And
stop crying.
Stop crying. Why are you acting like a girl?
Why are you acting like a girl?
And it follows them. It follows them when work is hard. It follows them when they're not making money. It follows them when they don't understand, when they can't cope with the pressures of fatherhood or being a husband. And then they don't have any outlets. That's one thing I love about being a woman, because women, fortunately and in some ways unfortunately, have been allowed to express themselves. We're not pent up. We have that close group. Remember when, I think it was Senator that was here, and he talked about the fact that he does also have a close guys group. A lot of guys don't have that.
They don't. Many don't have.
Even when they have it, I think they test, everyone's waiting for the first person to be vulnerable to. Because it's something that they have learned, they have grown with. I, for one, have always said, I can't be with someone who is that stoic and closed. It can't work. Because you're not giving, you're suffering, whether you like it or not, consciously or unconsciously, you're suffering the person who is in partnership with you at that point. Because you're not giving, you're closed off. And the person has to double themselves over
and try to be in a mind reader.
And then you hear them say, oh, it's not you. It's not you. You know, to placate or something like that.
But what I'm finding hypocritical is that we're the ones trying to re-educate men. We're trying to tell them to leave. We're trying to tell them, be at one with your emotions, be vulnerable. And we're still the one castigating them when they do show those kinds of emotions. So I'm a bit confused. Why do we do that? Everybody is pointing them towards this direction, that oh, it's okay to be this way. And when they are this way, we still don't want to accept it. So sometimes I'm wondering that, okay, what do you want them to do?
So I think that part of the conversation is there, because it's not only men who castigated Davido, also women as well. So if you're saying that we want to offer to be safe spaces, how safe are we? We've seen, I think it was G2G as well, when we were taking the tweets, one guy talked about the fact that his dad or his mom had passed away, and the father, he heard the father and his proposed father-in-law on the phone say, is he the only one who's lost the parents? And the wife said, I don't know. So we have to be able to receive what we're asking them to give, and that's a larger part of the conversation. Now, we've got a fantastic lineup of conversations and guests for you this week, and we're kicking off by keeping the spotlight on the dismal results of the 2025 UTME and how JAMB has handled the spiraling controversy so far. Joining us after the break is Alex Onyia. He is the CEO of Educare. It's a conversation you don't want to miss, so please stick around.
Welcome back to the show. You're still watching Jasiri News Central TV. Join the conversation via our social media platforms. We are at News Central TV. Okay, so the 2025 Unified Tertiary Matriculation Examination, UTME, by the way, that's what it means. A lot of us have forgotten what that means. So the UTME has become one of the most talked about education stories of the year in Nigeria, because for many students, what was supposed to be a gateway to higher education turned into a nightmare, from system glitches at CBT centers to inconsistencies in result processing. Complaints have poured in nationwide. Many candidates scored far below expectations, while some alleged their results didn't reflect their actual performance. And in response, JAMB has acknowledged some of these irregularities and announced that a select group of candidates will be required to retake the exam. This decision has sparked even more controversy. What really happened with the 2025 UTME? Was this a failure of technology? Was it an oversight? Or was it both? And what does this moment say about the readiness of Nigeria's education system to embrace digital transformation? We have these questions, and we also have Alex Onyia. He's the CEO of Educare, a platform that leverages data and technology to improve learning outcomes across Nigeria. He's also become one of the most prominent voices demanding accountability and transparency in education. So we'll unpack the facts, the failures, and the future of standardized testing in Nigeria. Alex, welcome to Jasiri.
Thank you so much, and it's a pleasure to be here.
All right, Alex, let's start with walking backwards from the latest developments, which was, of course, the resits examination that kicked off on Friday. Now, many raised concerns about the ongoing WAEC exam as well, which meant there would be some kind of clash for some students. Concerns were also raised about the turnaround time in deciding to hold the exams, and you've been monitoring the situation very closely. So do you think that JAMB rushed the resits, or did it go off without a hitch?
They actually rushed the receipt, although from the explanation, they really can't help because of the timing. Right, but 48 hours is a rush. I mean, the minimum should be like two weeks for them to prepare.
All right. In a poster about the receipts, you mentioned difficult questions, time management issues, JAMB system failures, unfair question allocation, poor center coordination, unresponsive invigilators and supervisors, poor network interruptions, no makeup or consideration for affected candidates. These issues raise concerns about even these receipts. Do you think JAMB will achieve what he wanted with this receipt they have done? Were all the candidates affected able to receipt on Friday? Or what all this quagmire? Do you think JAMB has done better with this receipt?
Yes, so I would say yes, because I mean it's better to receipt than to score 160 when you're expecting like 350 or 360, right? However, these issues that I pointed out, I just realized that these issues are common issues that happens year after year after year in JAMB. So just that children didn't really have anywhere to clearly organize their complaints. So of course I put out a feedback form. I gather the feedback form, I analyze the feedback. So these are the issues. Of course, not every child, I mean, will definitely receive. Somebody was in Nasarawa and they posted the person in Osoka, and the person doesn't even know how to go to Osoka. So that one by default, I've already missed it. And a number of different similar cases, right? So in terms of the receipt, it was in a rush actually. I expected the students, I mean, for the JAMB to be able to remark, but of course, they said that remark wouldn't really be an option at this point. So that's basically it.
Oh, wait, so Alex, you're saying a few things I think we need to pick up on. They're not going to remark if some of the students were not, did not receipt. Then you're moving people from, where did he say?
Nasarawa
from Nasarawa to Nsukka. as well in a matter of just...
the person's original center is in Nsukka actually. But the person has gone back to Nasarawa to continue their life.
Oh, so do they have to travel back?
So you need to have to come back again. So that shift is something that, life moves on. You finish your exam, the next week you are going to wherever you are going to, right? And they are telling you to come and retreat. If it's convenient, fine. If it's not, right? Nobody told you to stay back 2 weeks after the exam. So nobody knew that one of the right things to exam. But for me, the good part of it is that it's come.
Okay, so sorry, very quickly, we heard it was 370-something thousand candidates that were affected by the technical glitch or whatever. How many people do we know have taken the receipts as of Friday, and how many more do we expect to take in the coming maybe days or weeks?
I don't know the exact statistics of people that have taken it, but if I want to make a guess, of course, there's no data that backs my guess. I think over 300,000 must have written it, even as of today, which is the last day.
All right, so let's, for the record's purposes, Alex, we know that there was a glitch, okay, that affected these centers, and that's why over 370,000 students had to resit. Now, what I need to know is that I know that your team did a technical audit and they found out some things. Alex, can you please share with us those things that you discovered? Does it contradict or affirm what the JAMB registrar said when he broke down in tears and offered an apology on national television?
So firstly, it was actually not a glitch. It was a clear human error, right? Yes, so what we found out is this. In the JAMB system, there are two clusters. There is a CAD cluster and there is a lab cluster. The lab cluster, they have other sub-clusters. They have the Lagos zone, they have the Imo zone. Imo zone has all the Southeast states. They have the Lagos zone that has the centers in Lagos. And we also have Ogun, FCT, and some of these other states around Kogi, right? So the point is, there's a patch update they are meant to push that they did not push. So a lot of things are wrong in that process. How can you be pushing a patch update 2-3 days before the actual exam? What was the test process? How was even the vendors even selected for a mission critical application like JAMB? So these are the things that they need to review. From our investigation, JAMB as an organization is, for them to allow us to come and openly look at their system, it shows a high level of integrity.
Okay.
However, the people they are working with is where the problem lies. Those vendors that allowed this disaster to happen, that took a life of Timilahim, and also almost took a life of so many other students that we don't even know. So this is where the problem is.
So this thing you're saying right now, I know for many people would unfortunately confirm what they've suspected, but if we're looking at human error versus a system error, in terms of what we've heard from the JAMB register and the fact that he's given this national apology, Alex, let me ask you this. There are those who are saying he should resign, actually. We've heard that from the National Association of Nigerian Students as well as the Obedience Movement. Do you think this is a resignation-worthy error on the JAMB register's part?
I think he shouldn't resign. For the fact that he came and openly accepted and also apologized is also a show that, he has a plan. And I believe that he's going to do a lot better after now, right? So in terms of resignation, I wouldn't recommend that. So if this happens again, then of course he has to resign. That's basically what I have to say. If he didn't admit and this issue lingered for a much longer time and we finally had to force it to find out, then of course he has to resign. But at this point, I think he did what he needs to do. And of course, nobody's about to mistakes. Although this was very, very expensive for the children.
Yeah. All right, so let's do some math, because when we spoke about this on the show on Friday, there was one thing I raised that is still bothering me, and I want to get your idea on this. In doing the math, if we had over 1.5 million candidates out of around 1.9 that scored below 200, and we're hearing it's 379,997 of that number, that 1.5 has been traced to this, as JAMB said, service provider error. What of the around 1.12 million left? Is that still not a high rate of failure in the 1.9 million who took the exam? And what do the remaining failures themselves tell us about the system and the UTME? Because we seem to all be focusing on those who are resitting the exam, 397 plus. But it doesn't account for the total failure rate that JAMB has told us. So what do we say about that?
One thing I would say is this. Remember, when you look at these statistics, what comes in the mind and the heart of everyone is these people who wrote this exam in an ideal condition and then they failed, which is not the reality. There are people who didn't do well, obviously. There are people who didn't do well because of issues that are not theirs, like the computers, right? Now, there are people who also didn't do well because of the glitch, which is almost 400,000. People who had a lot of issues everywhere. So if you combine this, honestly, because we don't have like a clear feedback system that can help us to analyze this, we don't know. I think that's one thing I actually have to do, so that we can start looking at these statistics to start saying, okay, out of these people, these are people that wrote in an ideal condition. These are people that this is what they got, right? This is why they failed. These are people who had technical issues. These are people who had issues even with the assessment. These are people who were affected with the glitch, with the human error. I don't like to use the word glitch. So looking at these things now, this is how we can be able to come up with a much more helpful statistics. Because if you look at this and you see that people are being accused of failing, why in the real sense they didn't fail? I don't want us to use actually not right and fair for these children.
All right, so let's take a break now. Thank you, Alex. Just please hold on. Let's pay some bills. We'll be right back with the conversation on the UTME 2025. Stay with us. This is Jasiri. We'll be right back.
Welcome back. Thousands of UTME candidates are in limbo after system glitches, or should we say human error, unexpected low scores, and now a re-exam. What really went wrong with the 2025 UTME? We have with us Alex Onyia, CEO of Educare. He has been talking to us and he continues to shed a light on this issue, and we have been asking questions. Alex, thank you for being with us this morning. Are you still with us?
Thank you.
Yeah.
You're welcome. Yes.
So now, let's talk about the computerized testing. Many have reported issues that stem from the CBT centers. Is Nigeria's current tech infrastructure ready to fully support digital standardized testing at this scale? Because this is a large scale, if you ask me. There's a talk about putting up CBT centers in every local government in Nigeria. That's about 774 local governments. Is this the answer to this CBT issue? Because it's very, very foundational. In fact, it's everything we're building everything on.
Yes, so for me, the CBT approach, the way JAMB runs their system is they have partners, right, which are the owners of the CBT centers. And of course, they give the requirements that they use to build their centers, right? One thing I will say is JAMB actually needs to tighten their process and the engagement with their partners, because a lot of the failures on the partners, on their systems, on their hardware affects JAMB as an organization. So if these improvements are made, then I think this entire system will be a lot more efficient, also considering their own software as well. They can also refine the process, right? I mean, before they have currently they have big servers, right? Right now, I don't think those servers are very important. They can actually have, just a desktop or a laptop can actually act as a server for the entire place. So this is 2025. Let us look at technology that work at 2025 and make improvements. So let's not use exactly what was used in 2013 and trying to enforce it on 2025. So these are improvements that needs to be done, because we can't go back. CBT is actually the way to go. CBT has helped JAMB halt a lot of fraud. You know how WIEC has been watered down with a lot of miracle centers and all. You can't find that in JAMB. So JAMB has actually gone the right way. The most important thing is that your right way has taken so long to be efficient, since 2013. So in 2025, we actually have to get it right now or never.
Alex, I was asking about the inclusion of more CBT centers in every local government. Do you think that is a viable thing to consider?
The reason why CBT centers are working now is because it's managed by private individuals. Once you put it in the hands of government, just expect failure.
That's a point. And then, you know, when we brought this up, we saw it as an avenue to also make money. 774 local centers. Before you hear that, you're saying every one of them has 50 computers, 10 laptops, and then we'll do JAMB again in 4 or 5 years and won't see the results. But let's look at something beyond the CBT centers themselves, Alex. There was reports of digital illiteracy on the part of many students that has also been flagged as an issue. So just how much of an issue is it? How are we preparing millions of Nigerian students who don't necessarily have regular digital access for a once-a-year critical exam? Are we, throughout the year, are they doing mock exams like the JAMB exam using CBT so that they're getting used to the systems? Or what do we have in play? So is there a digital illiteracy issue also to consider with the CBT exam of JAMB?
The digital literacy issue is a very major issue, especially in places outside of Lagos. I mean, the eyebrow areas of Lagos, Abuja, Port Harcourt, Enugu. The digital literacy is a very big issue. I remember what we did in my village 2 years ago. When they were trying to get them to write this exam. A lot of children have never touched a computer in their lives before.
Wow.
And the first time they are touching a computer is on the day that they are writing JAMB.
How does that make sense?
The person is still trying to experience digital shock. You don't even know how to touch a mouse. You don't know whether you do double click and triple click.
Yeah.
So they battle these things. Why would you not fail? You see the child finish writing the exam, the child is out crying. Crying, know that this is not my real ability. But we can't go back to manual. There are people in different kind of states. If you go to places like Kawa, go to Gombe, those ones you see when they're teaching them computer, they draw it on a blackboard. Is it how you want to write JAMB? So there are some people who must fail, are destined to fail. Not because their ability is failure, but because that digital gap has already given them opportunity to fail. And these are the people that we are still counting. So that's why I said, in terms of their ability, you can't really based on that statistics. We need to know where the gaps are. And we need to now know how to be able to make amendments so that next year, if you're expecting improvement in JAMB, we know that, okay, because of this work, because that was why my village last 2 years, 70% failed JAMB. When we worked on them, a year after, 100% passed JAMB.
Wow. Oh, wow.
So that means...
It's not even, I mean, I knew how this worked, but I never really knew about the impact of this illiteracy in this whole thing. When I saw it, I was like, what? That was why we never joke with it again. We must simulate JAMB at least 4 or 5 times for you to get used to this system. Ask questions, we teach you basic computers. You get used to it, we'll build back your confidence. Right? So when you are not answering questions, you even know, because you know sometimes you've never used a computer, you'll be in one question calculating for 30 minutes. At the end of the day, you only answer 2 and you fail. But if you know how to manipulate these things, if you're the one that's giving you headache, you move to the next one, so you come back again. So these are the things that children need to actually be educated on. This will help improve their performances.
But wait, so then how do we scale up what you did in your village? Because what you did in your village is a personal thing. It's a private thing.
How does
it's something that you're intentional about. How do we make this a national digital literacy conversation? Because if you're seeing the computer for the first time at JAMB, as you said, the only thing is failure. Unless there's some exceptional quote-unquote grace, as Nigerians like to believe. So on that issue of digital literacy or illiteracy for Nigerian children, millions more of them don't have regular digital access than the ones who do. How do we solve this issue? And I don't think this is necessarily just a JAMB issue in and of itself.
Yes, so one of the recommendations I had, I mean, in my own village, we did it. The reason why I made this open is because I wanted people who should be able to copy, to know what they are copying, right? So that can really help them. However, one of my recommendations is there should be like a statewide timely CBT exam. At the end of every term, the state should organize a CBT exam for the entire students in the school. The purpose is very simple. The state should be able to know the academic progress and gap. The state should be able to, that activity also introduces them to CBT very early. So by the time you do it once every term, you are used to it.
Yes.
So when you are preparing for your JAMB or any other exams that I have to require, WAEC is definitely going to come on CBT. So imagine the amount of failure that will happen in WAEC by 2026.
Yeah.
So if State Commissioner for Education start introducing termly statewide, after your normal school exam, there's a statewide exam which is CBT.
Yeah.
Every child who is going to write their CBT exam, by the time they do it frequently, they know that one, this is the future.
Yeah.
Two, they are now getting used to it. They are building their confidence. They are understanding how these are being done. So with that, it becomes easy for us to rapidly introduce a lot of children. Remember, there's a way Nigeria works. If Nigeria can't see the consequence and the reward, they usually never act.
Yes.
So if you are coming to tell them stories about digital literacy, it will be like you are visiting a dead horse. But if they know that this is the exam that government will recognize it to move it to the next class, right? The children will wake up. So with this now, we can rapidly educate our children. We can also rapidly educate our teachers as well. Because I remember one of the things we did in my villages, as the students are writing their monthly CBT, the teachers are also writing their own. We want to compare your performance as a teacher to the performance to the children that you are teaching.
Wow.
We saw a teacher who is writing the same job students want to write, and you are scoring 17 while your student are scoring 56. We want to fire you quickly.
Okay, Alex.
So these are the practices that we have to do. So we notice that all the children in my village now are very confident about these things.
Well done.
Because it's no one, even the teachers know that they are no more going to, it's no more going to be business as usual.
Yeah,
they
they can't hide.
So if we have this on the statewide, local government wide, it will have start building back confidence, and that will make a lot of sense.
Wow, that's
a lot.
You know, I just keep listening to Alex. I'm like, we need this kind of things in a national discourse.
Yes. And Dr. Issa will change the face.
Come together. That's why I keep saying that when we're talking about policy change, are they calling the right people to the table? Or they're just calling the people they are always work. These are new innovators that we need at the table to help them find digital solutions to some of these problems that we have.
So we need to take a time out. We have a few more issues we want to touch base with Alex on. Alex, please just hold on. We'll be right back. We still want to touch about the underage candidates who also took the exams. And you've mentioned your recommendations as well. We'll go further into what you recommend. And then building trust back. That's one of the biggest questions and one of the biggest issues that lingers from the 2025 UTME. Please stay with us. We'll be right back.
All right, welcome back to the conversation here on Jasiri. Please join us live on all our socials. We're at News Central TV. We're talking about UTME 2025 and the case for reform. So we have Alex Onyia. He's the CEO Educare. He's still with us on the show. Alex, thank you for holding on. All right, so let's go into the question of the underage candidates. The underage candidates who sat for the exam. We all know that JAMB, yes, they admitted system error. At the same time, they are withholding the results of about 39,780 underaged candidates for not scoring at least 80% or 320 in the UTME. And out of the 40,247 underage candidates who sat for the exam, only 467, which is 1.16%, scored high enough to be classified under the exceptional ability category, said the Joint Admission and Matriculation Board. So what exactly is going on in this regard? I mean, some fear the underage candidates may be scapegoated. What do you think?
So on this case, I actually reached out to JAMB and I asked them directly, why are these students' results being held? The reasons they gave me are very correct, and if you reference the UBE Act and all those things, legally correct, and also a law, it is a legal battle in the Lagos courts, very correct, right? But I asked them one question. Since you know this thing, why did you collect their money? Why didn't you reject them?
From the admission.
From taking the exam.
Yes.
Withholding their result and giving them. So it's stealing. You took my money and you refused to give me value, giving me reasons. So if you know that I'm underage, why did you take my money? So I think either JAMB refunds their money or you release their results. Since based on the law and restrictions of the law, because of course we're a government organization, there are some restrictions you have. However, we understand that beautiful. Either you release the result or you give them back their money. It's just very simple. You can't hold up their result, frustrate these little children that their brains are not even so strong, and then you are still holding on their money and keep telling them reasons that to them it doesn't make sense. I mean, I understand it, I have checked it and it makes sense. But however, next time you shouldn't even take their money at all. Don't allow them. If somebody falsifies age to pay, to participate, then that is the person's problem.
It's interesting what you say, and I hope that parents are ready to take JAMB up on this, maybe even lawsuits if necessary, because honestly, if there's a law backing you from not letting me sit and have a result that may quote unquote let me enter university, why are you taking my money? Very good question. Alex, let's move on because of time, and two more things we really want to touch base on, but I also want people to know that on Friday, JAMB announced the establishment of the JAMB CCESC for emergency and counseling services, in addition to the ticketing platform for candidate support. JAMB has now opened a candidate counseling emergency support center. And of course, many of us were disturbed by the story of the candidate who took her life after receiving her UTME results. There's been a lot of talk, a lot of disappointment, and a lot of fear. And we can't ignore that students have been psychologically affected. Which takes me to my next question, Alex. You mentioned, of course, state commissioners of education in one of the recommendations you have of having termed CBT exams statewide at the end of the terms. And it's interesting that we haven't seemingly heard from commissioners of education in the states that were affected, Lagos particularly, and then some of the states in the southeast. So let's talk about what your recommendations are because of the time. What do we need to do? What does the future of JAMB look like if there are certain reforms that are not done? What are those reforms or recommendations or changes that you are right now advocating for?
I think this is the opportunity for the most important reforms for us to get to the golden age of JAMB. And we need to start from even the first point. The registration, if you remember, some children are trying to register JAMB. They are going to wait till midnight. The server is going, server is going, are trying now. In the morning, it's not going. These issues should not exist anymore in 2025.
I know.
Yes.
Change of courses, change of institutions should be seamless. Expectation management should be seamless. JAMB should stop telling people to come and write exam 6:30 a.m. These things should not happen in 2025. The entire end-to-end process needs to be done. Secondly, the vendors, how did you pick those vendors? We need to be able to have a transparent way of getting these vendors. We need to be able to have a much more advanced system. Thirdly, why should I write a CBT exam and wait till 2 weeks to see my results? Why can't I see it immediately? Why can't I see my mark sheet whereby I see what I failed and what I got? Then I also say, I think JAMB also needs to even start changing the dynamics of their questions. They need to start applying critical thinking so that people know that if you are writing JAMB exam, you actually need to know the subject. So these are changes that needs to be done. Even your engagement with their vendors, they need to make this adjustment as quickly as possible, right? I have already written the commissioners of education and also the governors within the Southeast and also Lagos. However, it is on their call to respond. It is quite unfortunate that I've not heard from any of them online, on the radio, on TV or anything. I mean, you can see the kind of people that we have in positions. I don't know if they value the lives of these children. They don't know that for these children, this is the most important thing at this particular phase of their lives.
All right, so let me piggyback on, Alex, sorry to interrupt you, but let me piggyback on what you've said. So now, having that now in perspective, for you, in your view, do you think it's time to consider alternative or complementary models to UTME for university admissions? Because right now, JAMB is the way, the truth, and the life.
I think for me, the best thing is to make JAMB efficient before we talk about a complementary model. Because if JAMB is efficient and we are talking about a complementary model, I think it makes more sense. Let JAMB be efficient and let JAMB uphold the highest level of integrity. If we have that sorted, then we can start looking at, okay, let's complement this. We already have post UTME and the rest. Let's start complementing this and adding some layers that makes it even more interesting.
Okay.
In the real sense, the entire JAMB process and everything, of course, the people that we copy, like the US, the UK, nobody does anything like that, right? However, now that this has also helped us a bit for a while, we need to actually let it even work the way it should work.
Okay.
Anyway, you know, on this particular discourse, we know that public trust in JAMB has been shaken. Our even shaken in some homes, it's been broken.
I know.
So what can we do to rebuild that trust? Because as it is, a lot of schools are affected. My son came home and said how discouraged the school teachers felt when they saw the outcome of the results. Some parents are already in distress, not to even talk about the students. And now we have even seen JAMB itself is in distress, because if the DG can come out and be, you know, publicly broken like that, there is brokenness everywhere.
Yeah.
So where do we begin to fix from?
Like I said, these are 3 things JAMB needs to do to fix this thing. I mean, one, after this whole issue, let there be no gap, right? Secondly, students from 2026, students should be able to see their results instantly. And let's say a week later, they should be able to see their answers and what they got wrong. Let the assessment now lie on the hands of the candidates. So with that now, it has exposed the highest level of transparency. So there is nothing you are hiding anymore. I don't know if that makes sense.
It does.
If they can get this implemented, of course, improve the entire examining process, then that solves the problem. It is when you are hiding things or you are not so open, maybe based on the structure and systems, that a lot of questions will keep popping and keep popping.
All right.
Wow. All right, Alex, thank you so much. I know we're going to have you in the studio because it's not just a JAMB question, it's an educational system question. It's also about the future of Nigeria's young people. Thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you so much for having me.
Now, as the dust begins to settle around the 2025 UTME, one thing is clear: the credibility of our examination system matters, not just for scores, but for the futures they shape. So whether you're a student, a parent, educator, or policymaker, now is the time to ask tougher questions, demand greater transparency, and push for real reforms. This conversation doesn't end here. We'll continue to shine the spotlight on the UTME 2025 and, of course, JAMB as it finds its way out of this controversy. So let's keep it going. Our social media platforms are at News Central TV. We'll see you guys tomorrow, 10 a.m. West African time. Thank you so much for joining us. Bye.